Welcome to the first Crosby Awards, where we're going to take a look at my top 15 movies of 2022. I have not seen every movie that came out last year, I just don't have that time on my hands. However, this list is going to consist of the best movies that I got to see. Honestly, 2022 wasn't bad when it came to film at all, and there were so many amazing pieces of work and some surprises that no one thought would be as good as they were. Before we start, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to go down the list until we get to number 1, but every fifth entry I'm going to state my favorite elements of film in 2022, like best performance, cinematography, best Bob's Burgers song, or something like that. For the worst movie of the year that I saw, I'm gonna have to give it to Ice Age Buck Wild. But that's okay, a 7th Ice Age movie is coming, so it's totally fine. The best show that I watched in 2022 is something that isn't new in 2022. It's a show that was already made before then, but this award goes to The Boys. The Boys gives new life into the superhero genre of media by executing a berserk, dark, and rich story with an unimaginably perfect performance by Anthony Starr as Homelander. My most anticipated movie of 2023 is without a doubt the Mario movie. I had to make my own video on why I'm so hyped on it just on a whim. For the biggest surprise of the year, I couldn't decide between which two movies were the biggest surprise, so we have a tie between Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and Top Gun: Maverick. Sequels that are amazing, and one of the reasons is because no one expected them to be this great. And for the best movie I watched of this year that didn't come out in 2022 was probably Coraline. I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of old movies that came prior to 2022 because I was so busy making reviews of the new titles that came out, but I got a chance to rewatch this one, and it's one of the best stop motion films of all time. And now, let's get into the top 15 movies of the year. RRR was the first Hollywood movie I've ever watched, and oh my god, this thing is a wild ride. It's like a superhero film, but on steroids. You get some nice choreographed action scenes, a sweet bromance, then you get what's without a doubt the best musical number of the year. The runtime drags the movie down in its latter half, but RRR is a movie that is energetic and is never not entertaining. Since Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and Pinocchio, one animated movie seems to be getting the short end of the stick. Well, I'm here to defend it. Turning Red is a great film, and as Pixar's 25th movie, it delivers something different from what they have given us. From the mixture of old and new animation styles, from a beautiful and mature story about growing up, and the strained relationship of daughter and mother, it's a shame that everyone has turned Turning Red into a laughingstock. Yeah, she twerks, but this isn't about that. It's about a young girl growing up, and it's a great analogy for periods in adolescence. There's another movie on this list that portrays adolescence a lot better, but for Pixar, this is one of their best. This is the best Batman movie since The Dark Knight, and it ain't even close. It's dark and gripping and never has a dull moment. Robert Pattinson gives a knockout performance as the Caped Crusader. My favorite DCEU movie is Shazam, and it's not because it's lighthearted like the MCU, it's just because it's a good movie. DC is definitely known to be darker tone, and the Batman shows you can have a dark story that's 3 hours long and be gripping for the majority of it. See, DC, when you truly put your heart and soul in it, you can be great. Here's hoping we get better DC stuff now with James Gunn in charge, and a big congratulations to the Batman for being one of the rare times where a DC movie is my favorite superhero film of the year. Steven Spielberg is one of the best directors of all time, so a movie about his life seems like it would be amazing. While it is a little self-indulgent, Spielberg obviously takes the story of his growing years as an aspiring movie maker with care and passion. That's what I love about the movie. It's passionately told from Steven Spielberg, and the acting is some of the best of the year, especially Michelle Williams, who plays his caricature of Spielberg's mom. Seeing this story unfold is a lot of fun, but also heartbreaking in so many places. X is the first installment in the horror franchise by T. West. It's a nice throwback to the 80s slasher movies like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. But the standout star is Maya Goth, who plays both Pearl, the movie's horror villain, and the protagonist Maxine. The horrid antagonist is not a monster, but just an old lady who you can sympathize with because she's jealous of the group of adults who are staying out near her place. She misses the days of being young and beautiful. It makes her truly sympathetic, and it made me feel old even though I'm just 22. Now for some more recognitions. For the best action scene, it's gonna have to be Puss in Boots versus Death. The symbolism and the meaning behind Puss fighting for his last life is beautifully executed, and also has a lot of anime influences behind it. And speaking of which, Death is the best villain of the year. While I wanted to give it to Jobu Tupaki from Everything Everywhere All at Once, this one slightly edged it out. I went more in depth in my block video of my analyzation of The Last Wish, so I'll keep my thoughts brief. He's one of the best animated villains of any time in any film. He gives more depth to our hero Puss, is threatening and menacing, and his voice is smooth and vicious. As much as I enjoyed the Bob's Burgers movie song Lucky Ducks, Naatu Naatu from RRR was the best song of the year. It's energetic and the choreography looks like a lot of fun to memorize. It's also extremely catchy. Best visuals without a doubt goes to Avatar: The Way of Water. Was there any surprise here? The expressions of the Na'vi, the world building, the underwater segments are powerful from a visual standpoint, and some of the best special effects I've seen on film in a long time. The most underrated film of the year, even though it was critically acclaimed, I think it deserved a lot more attention, and that movie is Nope. Its symbolism to the entertainment world and people feeling like they are the ones in control is told gracefully. It's a horror movie where characters actually make smart decisions. Maybe when I figure out a way to get rid of Universal on my back, I'll do an analyzation video on it, because I really love this movie. Now let's continue the list. It's safe to say that Blanchett in this film does a perfect job with no flaws when playing this character. Blanchett plays Lydia Tarr, a renowned conductor who is accused of sexual abuse. What I love about this movie is the structure. This film is one of those movies that doesn't tell you everything right off the bat, so halfway through, pieces from the previous scenes start clicking together to create this delicate picture. Tar is a deep character study of a struggling conductor whose storyline complements the development of this character with flying colors and gives light to cancel culture. The first film in the Top Gun series had me so bored. I thought this was the most overrated film of all time. The first Top Gun did not soar high. Walking out of Maverick was what I wanted walking out of the original. This is definitely one of Tom Cruise's best performances in all of the action films he has starred in. In terms of a cinema experience, if you didn't watch this at the movies, you missed out. Seeing this on the big screen was truly unforgettable, and it makes it even better knowing that the story passes the original by 500 miles. It does rely on some nostalgia, but this movie is definitely one of the biggest surprises of 2022. The menu isn't perfect, but man, was it enjoyable. It truly is a fun look at the difference between the consumer and the artist, how knockoff Gordon Ramsay plans this whole gigantic meal in 5 different stages for the guests where things take a wrong turn, but the real victory is Anna Taylor-Joy getting a simple burger and fries. It's relatable and demonstrates how an artist's love for his craft may not be entirely loved by the viewer or watcher. Some will find it pretentious and self-indulgent. It's not subtle about this at all, and the other characters are there just for tense moments, but the menu was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to do a full review on this when I rewatch it again. Pearl takes the antagonist of the first film and shows what she was like before she went insane. It's an incredible sad look at a girl who feels trapped in a small world. Maya Goth's performance as Pearl was completely snubbed by the Oscars. I was shocked when I saw she didn't make the cut. From beginning to the very end, she perfectly embodies this tragic, sympathetic character. The third installment comes out this year, and I'm keeping my thoughts short on Pearl and X so I can go much deeper into these movies before the new release. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish takes the Shrek franchise and spins it on its head with colorful, vibrant animation and proof that DreamWorks can still be the king of animation studios, while also creating a villain that's one of the best in animated cinematic history. Now for the final recognition. For Best Cinematography, this is going to go out to my boy Papa Chazelle, who made my favorite film of all time, La La Land. When Babylon was snubbed for Best Cinematography, I was absolutely stunned. The film is captivating when it comes to visuals, and the camera work is some of its best. For Best Director, I'm going to have to give it to 2 guys. The Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. They have created the best multiverse film of all time. The multiverse trend is getting kind of tiring, but they bring so much new life into this one film. For the best ending of any film of the year, has to go to Pearl. Maya Goth really should have been nominated for Best Actress. And of course, for Best Actress, it goes to her. For Best Actor, I had a real dilemma here. I couldn't choose between Austin Butler in Elvis and Brendan Fraser in The Whale. It was a close call, but I'm gonna have to go with Brendan Fraser because it's an original character. And now, here are the top 5 movies of the year. While I enjoyed Puss in Boots a lot more, I can't ignore the craftsmanship of Pinocchio. This is the best version yet, and the story follows the same beats of the Disney classic, but ends up on a different, dark path that works in the movie's favor. Again, Nope is extremely underrated. Again, this was snubbed hard, and while it didn't make it to the top 3, it's one of the best horror films of the decade and the best horror film of 2022. Aftersun was such a delicate film about the relationship between an 11-year-old daughter who's going through adolescence and a father who has recently been divorced. It's such a beautiful film that's poignant, that feels personal, and the acting is some of the best of the year. The story is small-scaled and the dynamic between the two is so wholesome and sweet. Each scene pours out this lovely passion between the two leads. Aftersun is a gorgeous film about the relationship of a father and daughter. This movie is hilarious from beginning to end. And the story is cliche, it's just about a dying friendship, but the narrative of the story led by Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson is what makes the film shine. The plot of a dying friendship has been done countless times over and over again, but the way that this movie doesn't give a plot twist onto why Colm stopped being friends with Pedrick, and some dramatic flashback helps the story become simple yet profound from the acting and the writing. The writing is probably the best of the year. And my number one movie of 2022, if you've kept up with this channel, you probably already know what it is. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a movie I recently talked about in a separate video. The biggest praise I can give this movie is its proof that you can make a film about anything and everything. A movie that takes place anywhere, in a non-fictional or fictional setting. Now you could take all of this at once, combine them, and create a film off an already tired trend and make it beautiful, poignant, tightly written, extremely chaotic, but ultimately make it a masterpiece of cinema.